Good afternoon, everyone. Something I wanted to talk about today. Hope y'all are with me and you're enjoying your day, having a good day. It's actually kind of a nice day. It feels like springtime today, and I've been used to this freaking cold weather. I'm sick of the cold weather. But the next unit I pick up is going to Wisconsin, so I'm sure I'll get a little more taste of winter before it's over with. Of course, it's February, so I've seen it where I live in Arkansas. I've seen it snow in freaking May, so it just depends. It doesn't always do that. It generally, typically doesn't do that. But anyway, there was something that I wanted to hit on today and discuss a little bit. I've heard a lot of people talking. I started watching a lot of different podcasts, a lot of different news media, all this, and I wasn't never really a real political person until probably the last, I'm going to say 5 years or something. I became a lot more political. There was always news on somewhere where I went, but the circles and stuff that I hung out in, they were generally my family, and a lot of my friends and stuff are just Republicans. That's what it is. So, if you go in their house and they're watching the news and all, which a lot of people don't really watch the news, and that's the truth. When you get older, you start paying a little more attention. Older people typically have to watch the news. My grandma used to always watch the news. She'd I always watch the news, and then when the sports comes on, I turn it off and I go to sleep. But every night at 10 o'clock, she'd watch the news. And then if you went in there during the day, she was watching different things. And sometimes it was the news in the afternoon, see what's going on. She lived there in Tulsa. She always liked to know what was going on. And my uncle was a policeman there, so I think that made her pay a little more attention to the news, because she was always worried that something might happen to him, and they'd put it on the news. So, but I think when people get older, they typically pay a little bit more attention to it. I guess if you went to college and you studied political science and different things like that, and that's kind of what you were into, then you would probably be more apt to pay attention to politics and the news and what's going on. And, most of the news you watch anymore anyway, unless you're watching ESPN or something, is not, and even some of that's, sports has became political, but generally all the news has became political. Used to, you'd hear, this going on or that going on. If you watch the local news, you'll hear kind of what's going on in your community. But if you watch any world or national news, it's 99 and 44, 100% politics. And most people just don't get into that. They don't care. They don't pay attention. They just, figured kind of like I always figured, politicians are corrupt. They're just going to be who they are. I'm just one vote. It really doesn't make that much difference. People are going to pick who they want. I don't really know who to pick. It doesn't matter, So that's the way I always was until, 3 to 5 years, 6, 7 years. I don't know. I've paid a little more attention to it since I've gotten older. And, you pay a lot more attention to it when it affects you, And so, but I've heard lately a lot of podcasters and people on the news media and different things saying, we were trying to tell them about Donald Trump, and we was telling them, and they still voted that way, and they should be ashamed of themselves. And you're trying to shame a lot of these people because, they voted for him, Now, I'll be honest with you, I drive over the road, I didn't send a mail-in ballot, and I didn't vote for him, but there was a time, and my sister threw it up to me, because I was on there making comments, and if you look at my Facebook and a lot of different things, you're going to see a lot of negative things about Donald Trump, to the point you'd go, man, this guy's got TDS. Well, yeah, I do. Yeah, I probably do. Because there's nothing that he has said that's come out of his mouth that's the truth. And there was a time that he was believable depending on what you were watching, whether you were watching Fox News or what, because these people support him and they push his narrative to the point where they make everything seem so legitimate, and they don't show you the whole story. They show you what fits the narrative, and that's just the way a lot of news is. It's pretty biased, And then if you watch some of the news, they go far to the other side of the spectrum over there. And so, I was always exposed to pretty much right-leaning news. My family was Republicans, most of them. I have a few Democrats in my family, but most, and being like a truck driver driving over the road, being in transportation and stuff, you can ask 100 truck drivers, and 90 of them are probably going to be Trump supporters, and out of those 90 of them, probably 85 still are, even after the last year that we've had. And so in the sects of people that I was around, family, friends, co-workers, people I dealt with at warehouses, blue-collar people and stuff like that, they were kind of down with Donald Trump. And you'd see Fox News everywhere you went. You go to truck stops, you go to places like this, that tends to be what's on the TV, So you're not getting, exposed to anything but that. So when that's what you're being exposed to and that's what you see all the time, then that's kind of the way that you tend to lean. And you can call it brainwashing, you can call it whatever you want, but that's the way you're going to lean. Well, I got into a little keyboard debate, I guess, the other day, if you want to call it that, because my sister reposted something because I'd said something about Trump being a satanic piece of trash. And she got on there and goes, well, I remember there was a time when you said he was going to do good for our country and blah, 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 blah. And what changed? Well, what changed is I opened my eyes. I got exposed to something else besides what I was always exposed to. And now you hear people, they're like dogging down on these people going, we tried to warn you, we tried to tell you. No, you never tried to warn me and tell me. Maybe you did, but I wasn't in a place where I was going to hear what you had to say when you were saying, oh, he's a racist, he's this, he's that. He's terrible. He did all these terrible things. He's the worst thing for our country. Well, I agree with you. I agree with you now that I see what's going on because I've lived it and I understand it. But before that, I never would have heard you tell me, and you can't say, hey, I tried to tell you. I mean, you can, but you didn't try to tell me because I didn't watch your platform. I didn't hear what you had to say. I was never exposed to that. I was always exposed to the other, and that's it. I was exposed to one side of it, that's it, and that's what people don't understand. That's what happens. You're not going to see very many people that are Democrats that are exposed to anything that Fox News has to say or Newsmax has to say, other than when they hear a podcaster or someone say, hey, these guys said this, but they're spinning the narrative wrong, or they've, tried to hide some of what really actually happened. But if you're not watching that podcaster, you're not going to hear that. And why would you be exposed to that if you never watched it? You weren't on YouTube all the time watching different podcasts and Pod Save America and Secular Talk and David Pakman and stuff like that. So, if David Pakman says, hey, I tried to tell you, or calling them, it's like, were you a moron? We tried to tell you. Kamala tried to tell you. Then I'm going to say, well, you didn't have my phone number. You didn't call me. You didn't text me because I didn't hear what you had to say because I wasn't listening to you. You were not in my playlist, and I'll just put it that way. So you can't hold it against me now and try to say, hey, I told you so, when I finally realized and I go, hey, instead of inviting me in and going, hey, man, I'm glad you finally realize this now, you got to rub it in and try to make it burn that you tried to tell me so. Well, no, you never tried to tell me anything because I didn't hear what you had to say. Because you have a group of followers that follow you, and I was not in that group until now, okay? Now, if you tell me something, and a year from now or 5 years from now, I went opposite of that, and you say, hey, I told you so, then I go, well, yeah, you did try to tell me. But 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, you didn't try to tell me nothing because I wasn't listening to you. You weren't there, and I wasn't there for you to tell me because I wasn't there, and you weren't there. I wasn't listening to you. So, and when I heard Kamala say something, I'd laugh and giggle like a hyena, and that's basically it. In my mind, because of what I had been exposed to, I was like, man, she's just out of her mind, man. That'd be the worst thing that ever happened to our country, Now, I will tell you, I didn't vote for Donald Trump, but had I been there and decided I wanted to run down there and put my name on a ballot, and I hadn't been in Tennessee at a truck stop, where I had to do a mail-in ballot or nothing, I might would have done that at the time because I didn't know, because no one told me. I wasn't in the area to hear, and all I knew was what Fox News said, Newsmax said, Greg Gutfeld, shit like that I might watch in the evening when I was at the truck stop because I got a kick out of it, got a kick out of him making fun of shit, or like lefties losing it and shit, and you have to admit that, there for a while, there were some fucking radical motherfuckers doing some dumb shit, and to the normal untrained eye, they would go, that motherfucker's a lunatic. So, I was looking at things differently. Now, I'm not saying that everyone that's on the left is a lunatic, but there were some. And the things that I watched profiled those people right out in front to make them look silly. And it's a form of brainwashing. It's a form of controlling the narrative to fit the right group of people. Does it mean that I'm stupid? No. It just means that I'm uninformed. There's a difference in being uneducated and uninformed. So, was I educated in politics? Not necessarily, because I just got one side of the story. And to me, I always believed all politicians were crooks. Didn't matter if he was left, center, right, no matter what. They were all just there for their own political gain to make money and do what they were going to do. And they wanted power and status and all this stuff, and that they were all a bunch of corrupt fools. Am I wrong? Are they still not that way? Well, probably. I'm sure they are. But I'm getting criticized from all sides now, because I used to kind of be down with a little bit of what Trump said. And from where I was at, it's like, hey, I didn't agree with everything that he said. There was a lot of it that I disagreed with. But when a guy says, hey, there's innocent people being killed, they've opened these borders, and if you watch Fox News, all you see is a bunch of military-age men crossing the border, because they're not going to show you the group of unaccompanied minors. They're not going to show you the family units. They're not going to show you the women that are pregnant, that are escaping something or looking for a better life. They're not showing you that. They're showing you military-age men over and over again, going, look at these guys that are coming. Man, they're going to have all these military. We don't know where they're come. They're not being vetted, all this stuff, and that's what you see. So that's what you're being subjected to. And then, and you're thinking, well, yeah, we probably need to get some of these people out. And then they're going, these gangs, they've took over a hotel. They've done this, they've done that. And you're watching these things, and you're like, man, that's not cool. Nobody wants crime. Nobody wants to see some woman go out for a jog and be killed by by anybody, whether it's a citizen or whatever. But, they're preaching this narrative that all this crime is coming from these people. Well, no, I knew better than that. I know that everyone, that from every group of people, whether they're citizens, non-citizens, whatever, are committing crimes. But it is, but they do got a point. Like, if you don't know who these people are, and they did release people from their jails and prisons, it's been proven. Or, there were people that, that were not nice people. There were some MS-13 people and shit that did come here. Now, I don't think that all the people that came here are that way, but there are some. Do we want any of them? No. And when someone says, hey, this is what we're going to target, we're going to get them out of here, it's like, that's probably a good idea. Just the same as I want my local police to find the criminals and lock them up or make them accountable, so that, my wife can go to the ATM machine without being mugged, robbed, raped, carjacked, or whatever. I mean, that's common sense. We want to feel safe where we live. So, you're hearing things like this, and you're hearing it preached over and over and over again, and you're not hearing any counter message to that, because you never really watch anything else. You're not exposed to anything else. You're not a real political person. You're not that, and you're like, you guys got a good idea, hey. And, maybe that's what we need to do, And, hey, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to fix this economy, and things are getting out of hand. And, then you had your COVID thing happen, and people were locked down, and there was a lot of stuff. Well, I was an essential worker, so I was out working. It didn't make no difference to me. I was still out working, making money. And I won't lie to you, in the trucking business, during COVID, was the best time in anyone's life they could ever make money during COVID, because it wasn't, hey, we're going to pay you $2,000 to haul this load of toilet paper or whatever the fucking it is over here to the warehouse. It was like, dude, if you can get it there by tomorrow afternoon, even if you got to cheat your logbook, we'll pay you $6,000, which is 3 or 4 times what it normally pays. I'm not going to lie to you, dude. The money was great during COVID. Now, I don't want to see people die or whatever, but, in my opinion, it's like, hey, COVID's kind of cool. But it wasn't cool. You know what I'm saying? If you get what I'm saying, like, for the economy, it really sucked for some people. But for some people that had been kind of downtrodden and paying high fuel and barely getting by, couldn't hardly make their truck payments and shit, it got really good, and we was putting up some money, man. We were making money. So I'm not down with people being sick. I'm not down with COVID. I'm not, no pun intended. But Like, I wasn't down with all that, and the lockdowns and all the crazy shit. And, and I did think old boy was a little psychotic, because I did hear him say something about putting fucking bleach in your veins, and I thought, this motherfucker's cheese done slid off his cracker. But he's not a medical professional. He's just a fucking other politician. But, he did say some things that made a little bit of sense. And that was, but to the contrary, all you heard was how bad the other side was. But you never heard anyone from the other side talk, because you weren't listening, you weren't looking, you didn't care, you were just looking. So there was a time when I thought, well, yeah, if he'll fix the economy and he'll do some shit, he's supposed to be a businessman, and yeah, he's bankrupt a couple casinos, and he's done some fucked up shit. But what politician hasn't? And if he'll fix some shit, fuck, I'm down with it. Fix the shit, But I didn't hear how bad it was going to be, because I wasn't listening. And when people say, well, we tried to warn you, no one warned me, because I wasn't in a place where they could warn me. I was in my own little world, my own little bubble. And that's what people don't understand about politics, is that's where people are at. Most people are not real informed about political things. They'll go, oh, they bombed them drug boats. But they don't look into it and go, hey, man, them guys might have been fishermen. Man, they had no right to do that. Well, that's against everything. That's a war crime. That's this, that's the other, And people aren't paying attention to that. They're just paying attention to the narrative of whatever they got from where they got it from. And they're not hearing anything the other side has to say, because they're not talking about it, because they're not in a place where they're on those particular platforms to hear anything different. So we got in this little keyboard debate, long story short, and I basically said, well, the difference is when I realize I was wrong, and I want to be always on the side of right. And maybe I thought I was on the side of right before, but now I realized I'm not. I'm hurrying up to get on the side of right. Okay? So you're going to condemn me because of what I said before, but now I change. There's nothing wrong with evolving and changing when you learn that, hey, I wasn't on the side of right, I'm going to get on the side of right. You should commend a person and go, hey, I'm glad you're on the side of right. But if you're a MAGA, you're not going to commend someone, you're going to condemn someone, because they don't still believe that stupid bullshit that was being preached to them, and they don't believe that every school has 40,000 trans people trying to run sports when there's like 10 across the whole United States, and they don't believe that every person that come from every other country was a killer and a rapist and a pedophile and all these things, because actually it's like more like just maybe less than 2%, and 98% or more of the crimes are committed by actual U.S. citizens, natural born U.S. citizens, but you're not going to convince them of that, because they still live in that bubble, that MAGA bubble, that I had kind of introduced to and became a part of, because that's just, how it was. If you went to your grandparents' house, news is on, and it's Fox News. You go to the truck stop, it's Fox News. Anywhere you go, it's Fox News. So whenever you're trying to get a little news, you go, hey, and then you kind of fit into that deal, because they're talking about, hey, did you see what that radical son bitch did, blah, 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 and you're like, yeah, I watched that, dude, that's crazy, motherfucker does that. And that's where you're at, because the people you're hanging out with, that's what they're watching, so you're watching what they're watching, so then when you're together, you got something in common, and that's just the way it works out. So that's what people need to understand, is that people live in their own cliques, their own groups. Now, just because you're in that group doesn't mean you're a racist, because I'll tell you, I'm far from racist. My girl's from Venezuela, dude, and I know she's not a killer and a rapist, and I know her skin's darker, but it means nothing to me, dude. I don't care if she was from Africa, if she's black, if I love her, I love her. It doesn't matter. I don't care the color of your skin. I'm far from racist. I don't believe in that, and I was raised to not believe in that, okay? But people have their opinions and whatever, and, I'm not going to judge someone, because they won't be judged one day, and I believe when I stand before God that I'll be judged for what I did, not what they did, But I also am going to be on the side of right, and I'm not a racist, never have been. And, I believe that we're all just people, we're all God's children, we all deserve the best we can have in this life that we can carve out for ourselves. And I don't think that anyone should be judged because of the color of their skin. I am not homophobic. I don't care if you're a man and you want to marry a man, you're a woman, you want to marry a woman. If you're a man and you want to marry a man and a woman and you want to have 5 wives, if y'all agree to it, I don't care. That's up to y'all. It's maybe not my preference, but I don't care what you do. And I don't look at you any different. And if you were qualified for the fucking job that I was hiring for, if I was the boss, I don't give a shit who you sleep with, your sexual orientation, the color of your skin, or whatever. If you're qualified, and I think you'll do a better job than anybody else, you got the job, and I'm not going to criticize you. I'm not going to look down on you. I'm not going to treat you any different than anybody else. And that's me. Now, I'm not saying that everyone in that little sect over there is that way, because most of them claim to be Christians, and they don't know. They don't have a relationship with God. They got religion. That's it. There's a difference in religion and relationship. There's a lot of religions, but then there's relationship. And if you have a true relationship with God, you're not going to be a racist. You're not going to be a homophobic. You're not going to be like that. You're just going to love other people, and you're going to accept them for who they are. And you pray for them, and hope the best for them, and wish them well, and hope they find the same relationship that you got with God. So that one of these days they can be in the kingdom too. And that's just the way I believe it. Not everybody believes that way. Some people, it's an abomination and this, that, and other, and they take and they twist God's words to fit their racist or homophobic agenda. And I've never been one of those people, never have been one of those people. But I wasn't real versed in politics, didn't really care a whole lot who the candidates were, because I figured one's just as bad as the other, and that was my ideology. I thought they were all crooks, they were all corrupt, and that's just the way it is. It doesn't matter. On my level, I just have to work every day, pay my bills. I'll get whatever I earn, and that's it. There ain't nobody gonna give me fucking nothing. So, and these people help themselves to the taxpayer monies, but they don't use that money for something good to help other people have health care or food or anything else like that. That's just a typical politician, so it really doesn't matter who's in office. But as I've educated myself a little more about politics, well, it does matter, and I've learned that now. So now I'm getting it from family and friends and all this, that my ideology is radical, that I'm a radical leftist. Okay, well, no, I don't think so, but I just call shit like I see it. And I'm woke. Well, yeah, I've woke up to what's really going on, so if that makes me woke, I guess I'm woke. Okay, so, but the truth is, after this year, this first year of Donald Trump being in office, whether you supported him before, no matter where you got your information from, no matter whether you were real political or not, if you've looked at and paid attention to his first year in office, if you do not denounce this guy, if you do not detest this guy, if you don't have Trump derangement syndrome, then there's something wrong with you. And that's it. And I don't know how people can see that. I don't know how people can see anything else but that. So for the people that are condemning me now, going, why am I turning into a leftist? Why am I so woke? Why am I criticizing when before, I was kind of all right with it, but now, now I'm not? Well, because I've seen what this guy's done for a year now. No one told me, no one warned me, because I wasn't listening to them. I wasn't in a place where I heard their voice saying, this guy's a fucking racist, moron, idiot, piece of satanic garbage trash. So I never heard that. But now I'm smart enough to see what he's done in the last year, and I realize that. And for all these people that are supposed to be true patriots over here on the right side, where I used to kind of be at, in my little bubble, with my little group of people, if they can't look and they're so patriotic, and this guy in the last year has just completely shit all over the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, all the fucking shit that makes America the great place that it already fucking is, and the great wonderful freedoms that we have, and they can sit here and still go, oh, he's a great guy, he's doing wonderful things for our country. There's something fucking definitely wrong with those people. And I'll lose a lot of friends and a lot of family members over me waking the fuck up or being woke to what's going on, because I've paid attention now for the last year. And that's fucking totally cool with me. Because if you can support a guy that's just fucking blatantly racist, then that's pretty fucked up. And I don't like that. And if you can support a guy that's fucking totally shits all over the fucking Constitution, when some of these people have fought for our country, some of them have been in the military, some of them have served, some of them have took an oath to defend that Constitution, and they can still support this piece of shit after he shit all over the Constitution, then that's pretty fucked up as far as I'm concerned. But then if they can see these files that are coming out and hear some of the allegations that's against this guy and look at his life and see what's going on, now that you can really pay attention and you can hear everything that this fucking piece of trash has done in his life and some of the allegations that these women have done, and you can support this motherfucker that's probably harmed little girls, that's a fucking pedophile, and you can fucking support this motherfucker and try to protect him, then fuck you. You ain't no friend or family member of mine. I don't want to come fucking break bread with you. I don't want to be around with you. Because I don't want to be around a bunch of people that support a racist, unconstitutional, dictator, authoritarian pedophile. And that's where I'm at. And that's what I believe. Maybe it's not true. Maybe it's not true. But a lot of evidence points that way. You know? And so, call me woke, call me a leftist, call me what you will. I don't give a fuck anymore. You know? And I've literally had a family member talk shit about my girl and the people that's from where she's from and shit because they listened to this guy on his fucking midnight rants on his untruthful social fucking platform talking trash, and they've been indoctrinated and fucking brainwashed by a fucking moron, bro. Like straight up, like fucking totally brainwashed by a piece of shit pedo moron. And it's like, that's unintelligent. Like if you have all the proof you have in the last year, even if you was never on someone's platform that could try to tell you, hey bro, you know, you did this, you know, he did this, he did that, he's going to be bad for our country, blah, blah, blah. You know, even if you never heard that, but you've watched what's happened just in his first year of office this time, this go around, when he's went full on fucking draconian, authoritarian, shooting citizens in the street with his fucking Nazi Gestapo thugs, shitting all over fucking everybody's fucking constitutional rights, trying everything he can to have his name redacted from a bunch of pedophiles. And you can still support this guy, so fucking be it, bro. So fucking be it. There's something wrong with you, and I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to fucking hear it. I don't want to hear the fucking bullshit. It's like if my phone rings and I see this person's name or that person's name on there, I don't even fucking answer it. I don't even send it to voicemail. I might answer it and hang up so it don't go to voicemail, because I don't want to hear the words that come out of their mouth. Support this motherfucker, dude, and fuck that. So that's for the people on the fucking far right that think I'm woke, I'm a fucking leftist, whatever. I give a fuck, dude. I'm by myself every day, driving down the road. I'll continue to be by myself and have peace, you know? And for the other people on the other side, that they want to condemn me too, because I get it from both sides, because I used to kind of be down with this motherfucker a little bit in some of what he said. And I can't say I fully support him because I didn't put my name on a check mark by his fucking name. But I kind of leaned that way, and if had I been around on ballot day, I might would have. And I won't lie to you. I might would have, because I was brainwashed, or I was in that fucking clique where that seemed like, you know, the only way, you know, and the shit I was hearing and the things, the people I was around, and they were all saying that, and I thought, well, you know, people probably right. They probably watch the news a little more than I do. They pay a little attention, whatever. You know, maybe they're right. Maybe he's going to help us. Maybe he's going to fix the economy. Maybe he's going to, you know. So I might have would have went that way. I might have would have supported the motherfucker with a check mark by his name. You know. So for you people to go, hey, I tried to tell you so. I tried, you know, we tried to warn you. You know, how can anybody, you know, blah blah blah, support that motherfucker? Well, I guess you can criticize me too. I can get it from both sides. I can get it both ways. It doesn't matter. But I never really heard you because I wasn't where you were saying it. So, you know. Instead of welcoming me in and going, hey man, this guy woke up, he's fucking on the side of right. It took him a while to get there, whatever, you know. because he wasn't paying attention or he had his head in his ass or whatever, that's fine. But instead of going, hey, hey, we welcome you over here to our side, we get it. Midterms are coming, we got to go a different direction with this country, and we welcome you in. Why don't you criticize me and condemn me and push me back over in the arms of the other people? You're not going to do that with me because I choose for myself and I'm going to be on the side of right. But I'm just laying it out there for you people that might be doing that to someone that wised up a little bit and they went the other direction. Welcome them. Don't criticize them and say, hey, man, I'm glad you realize that, man. Man, he's done a lot of bad things. Man, we're glad you're on the side of right. We welcome you in. Man, don't never support somebody like that again, dude. Man, really be educated and pay attention. But don't sit there and criticize them till they go the other way, because that's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt you in the midterms. And I'm sorry, but we don't have room for being hurt. Not at this point. We need everybody voting. We need everybody to go out, and we need a big fucking blue wave. That's what we need. And I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm not down for a lot of these Republicans. I'm not down for a lot of these fucking Democrats. I've watched some of these fucking Democrats reach over across the fucking aisle when they get a little carrot dangled and vote for a big fucking bullshit bill. Because they got a little favor, they got their little back scratched, and they come over into the fold. They got a few little things give to them and their constituents, so they went ahead and voted for it to push them across the edge. Fuck that, dude. No, fuck that. So, truthfully, I think all these fucking politicians are crooked motherfuckers, dude. Whether they're right, left, or center. And I still believe that. But I guess there's the lesser of two fucking evils. So, I will make a point to vote in November, and I will make a point to vote anyone that's fucking not MAGA. And that's pretty much straight up. Anyone that's against Donald Trump gets my vote. And that's where I'm at. But I'm one person. And I'm one person that wants to be on the side of right. So you can criticize me. You can say, hey, motherfucker, whatever. You fucking supported Donald Trump or some shit. And you can try to make me feel bad and shit. But I don't care. I'm going to be on the side of right one way or another. But there's some people, when you do that to them and you bully them like that, they're going to go back the other way, and they're going to go right back where they come from and go, oh, them fucking leftists. These fucking radical left lunatic bastards. And then they're going to vote Republican. And we can't have that. So, the bottom line is, I don't care how someone votes. It's their choice. But it would be nice if things went our way at the next election, because we really fucking need it to, because we're in desperate fucking trouble with this piece of motherfucking shit in office, dude. Straight up. And I will admit that. And like I say, he didn't have my undivided fucking total fucking support. But there was a time when I had wrote some stuff like, well, maybe God appoints rulers. Maybe he picked him and he's going to fix some shit. And I put that down, and it's like, thank God, maybe we got somebody that's going to fix some fucking shit finally. And I mean, let's face it, like fucking Joe Biden was kind of fucking demented, bro. I mean, he couldn't even hardly form a sentence. He couldn't fucking debate. He couldn't do nothing. I don't know who was fucking pulling the strings, but I wonder if it was him or not. Maybe he really was running shit. You'd have to show me some proof. I don't know. So, I mean, the lesser of two fucking evils. And then I think what he did was kind of fucking shitty when he backed the fuck out. And then he just kind of dumped Kamala in there by herself and was like, hey, go figure it out. And then I really think they should have fucking did something where they had a fucking vote and let the Democrats pick who they wanted to run on their side, because they might not have chose Kamala, and we might be in a different situation now. So, I mean, we can all sit here and criticize everyone if we want to, or we can fucking quit letting these motherfuckers divide us, and we can unify together and go, hey, we got to fix some shit, and we got to do it pretty quick, because we're in fucking trouble. We're in deep fucking trouble, and I don't think it's going to get better. And I've started being more political, and I've started checking out different things people were saying and going and doing my research and doing shit for myself, because I am a pretty patriotic person, and I'm proud that I was born in America. I was fortunate to be born here, and I do think that this could be the greatest country in the world, but we're a fucking laughing stock right now. We're a fucking joke, dude. And our economy's going to take a fucking dig with these fucking tariffs. A big fucking dig. I'm scared we might not recover from it, because it hasn't come home to roost yet. And we're making enemies all around the world, and we're pushing people into the arms of people that are truly not good people to be with. When we should be bringing those people into our fold. So, let's not push anybody away that says, hey, I'm coming in over here, dude, I don't really like what's going on over there. Go, hey, come on, let's go. And hand them a fucking ballot. Get them registered to fucking vote and get them down there in November, because that's what we need. That's definitely what we need. And that's what we need in the midterms, and that's what we need in 2028 too. No doubt. And so, that's where we're at. And anybody that's got some extra information or that can make some other shit where we can get this fucker out of office now, that would be even better. That would be even so much better, And so that's where I'm at. That's something I wanted to talk about today. Like I say, it ain't gonna be no family dinners for me for a long time, because everybody thinks whatever. So I get it from that side, and now I'm gonna get it from the other side, because everybody's like, oh well, you supported that motherfucker. We tried to warn you. Well, no, you didn't try to warn me, because I wasn't where you were at. I wasn't listening to you. I didn't listen to your platform. I didn't care what you had to say. Didn't even know the fuck you was. But now I finally started educating myself a little bit more about politics and realizing that it really does kind of matter. So before I thought, well, they just pick whoever they want and they're going to do whatever they do, and I just live here in this world and just have to make my way and get by. Well, I'm realizing how important it really is, And I used to really kind of hate politics, still hate politics, but I'm just trying to make sure I'm a lot more informed about political things now, because it is important to me. I want to see my kids do well. I want to see everyone do well, and there's no one going to do well with people like Donald Trump in office, just the whole thing all the way around, and that's just where I'm at, and like I say, anybody that's watched him for the last year, even if they were staunch supporters of his and they've seen what he's done in the last year and they still follow him, there's something fucking definitely wrong with them. They can't be patriotic. They can't care about the rule of law. They can't care about the Constitution. And they must just be full-on supporters of pedophilia and racism. And that's it. That's the only way I can see it. And that's the way I'd have to call it. And that'll make a lot of people mad, but so be it, dude. I woke up, and it wasn't that I really necessarily woke up. I just wanted to be on the side of right, and I realized I was not on the side of right. So I hurried up and realigned and got on the side of right. So, and like you can go back through my social media and you'd probably see some posts and go, that motherfucker, he was kind of supporting old boy there a little bit. He retweeted this or reposted that or whatever. But I'll tell you what, for quite some fucking time now, you can go on there and you're not going to see anything but just negative shit. Negative shit about these fucking maggots, dude. And that's it. Donald Trump and his fucking cult, dude. Straight up. And I won't even lie to you, man. Like, even January 6th, everybody's like, oh, fucking January 6th is insurrection. Well, I've done research now. I've watched a few shows. I've seen more video clips than what I was exposed to. And I go, hey, that's full on fucked up. But I won't lie to you, before I was like, them people was peaceful protesters. Because that's what I was exposed to. I wasn't exposed to anything else. Do you think on Fox News they were showing motherfuckers trying to bash cops' heads in with a fucking with a damn fire extinguisher? No, you didn't see that. You seen people peacefully walking through the halls. You seen the guy sitting at Nancy Pelosi's desk with his feet up there like, hey, look at me, aren't I cool? And you're like, oh, okay. But now, I've learned now that, like, if someone from the left, someone that was a Democrat, if they were out protesting, all of a sudden those are fucking riots and those people are terrorists and shit like that. And, and then you go look and you go, hey, wait a minute. So no, I just didn't do my research before. I just kind of believed what was on the TV. I didn't pay attention. And that's what people need to understand. That is what most of the American people do. They have their choice show that they watch, where they get their news from, where they get their information from, and they believe what them people say. And it's preached to them over and over and over and over again. It's a form of indoctrination. It's a form of brainwashing. And if they never go look outside of that, then they believe it. If they never get the other videos where it shows something different, a different perspective, where they can see with their own eyes, hey, that ain't right. But then there comes a point in time where they become so indoctrinated in shit and so brainwashed that even when they see those other videos, they'll say, "Oh, that's fucking AI or something," or that's bullshit, or they still won't believe it because they're just too far gone. Well, at least I'm not too far gone. You know, at least I'm not too far gone. I believe what I see, but it is kind of, you know, I've thought about this whole AI deal, and it is a little bit scary because one of these days, like, some of this shit's getting kind of realistic looking. Like sometimes my old girl should be like, "Nah, dude, that's AI." And then I have to look, and I was like, "Fuck, you're right." You know, put my glasses on, take a better look, and I'm like, "Well, yeah, you're right, man. That's AI." Kind of got me some tears. You know, I was like, "Oh, that's a good story." Whatever. So that's AI generated. You know, because some of it's pretty realistic looking. You know, I grew up in a time where we didn't have 1080p and shit, 4K TVs and shit. So like, you was watching Bill Cosby show, it was a little bit blurry, depending on your antenna. You know, so like I can see something, and it's like, "Oh, they just got a poor camera." No, it's fucking AI, bro. You know, but I'm just saying, like you could like legitimately be tricked with some of this. Now, I mean, I can generally tell now, but in the beginning, I was like, you know, kind of on the fence about it. But they're getting so good with that shit now, you know, that they can generate some shit and call it real, and a lot of people would believe it. You know, and everybody doesn't have to believe it, but if enough people believes it, there it is. There's your narrative, you know, and people are talking about it. I guess there's a, you know, that's why you need to go different places and expand your mind and listen to what other people are saying. And I just never really cared to do that before. I just was busy, and I lived in my own little world, and I did what I did. And that's, you know, that's the thing, and that's what I go back to, and I say, that's the way most of the people are. Most people aren't super political. They go on about their day every day. They get most of their politics from social media or something, you know. And the government's pitted the right to the left, and they've pitted everybody and divided everybody against each other, and they're just on there talking shit, you know. And then they got their little bots and AI bots and shit on there making comments and doing shit, and they'll show some video of somebody being arrested, and then you got some asshole going, "This is what I voted for," you know. And then you got somebody else going, "Man, you're just a heartless piece of shit," and they say some shit like that. That's a fucking little kid, or, you know, the kid was just trying to go to school or something. They got pounded down to the ground and arrested. You know, that's like, they're not the worst of the worst. And they're like, "Well, they're a criminal, by God, they crossed the border illegally." You're like, what the fuck, dude, really? You know, and so that's what it is. That's where most people get their politics or any of their information is social media and shit, or they get it from one actual news organization, maybe two, and it's usually the ones that line up with their particular political affiliation, and there it is. So, you know, they're not going to hear anything that anyone else has to say because they don't watch the other stuff. And like, so now, you know, I'm watching a lot of different shit, where I was only exposed to Newsmax and Fox and dumb shit like that, you know, and that was it. But now I watch fucking Meet the Press and you know, PBS, and I watch a lot of different shit, and I find myself more often not watching Fox and not watching Newsmax because their breath smells like Donald Trump's fucking ass, because that's all they do is they coddle his ass and try to protect him, you know, and they give him softball questions when they got him on there, and anytime him or somebody from his administration's on there, they're getting softball questions, and they're getting all, you know, fired up and smelling good for the American people to look good, you know. And it's like, no, bullshit, dude. No, tell it like it is, you know. So, and then, you know, I won't lie, there's some people over there on the other side that are going way far, too far fucking left. But, like, I won't lie to you, with like Donald Trump, anything they say is probably fucking true, no matter how fucking radical it is, because he's a fucking satanic piece of shit. And I'll just admit that. So, you know, so criticize me if you will. You know, say what you gotta say, get it all out, you know. And I get criticized from both sides. Makes no difference to me. All I know is from now on, you know, I learned my lesson. I'm going to be informed, and I'm going to be on the side of right. You know, what I believe is right and wrong. And if it lines up with that, I'm good with it. If it doesn't, I'm calling it fucking out. So, anyway, that's where we're at. And, you know, I just kind of wanted to share that because that's like a little conversation we had, you know, with one of my family members, you know, like dogging me out about, well, you used to say this, you used to say that, what happened to you? Well, I grew a fucking brain, all right, you know, Now I got Trump derangement syndrome because anybody that's watched this motherfucker for the last year and they have any intelligence at all, they should have Trump derangement syndrome. Anything he fucking says is a lie. It's racist. It's some kind of fucking sick, twisted ass fucking mentality bullshit that comes out of his mouth. And anybody that wants to support that shit is pretty fucked up in the brain after this last year that we've had. And the people that come out and go, oh, we're doing a great job. Well, we just got just a little bit more suffering and we'll get through it. The economy's getting better. Look at the stock market. Well, how much money, motherfucker, do you got in the stock market? Well, I don't have any, really. You know, oh, okay, so how does that affect you then? What really affects you is when you go down and put gas in your car, when you go to the grocery store and you spend $200 more than what you used to spend for 2 weeks worth of groceries. You know, that's what's really affecting you. So tell me how much longer this pain has to last. You know, when they come kick your fucking door in and they don't have a fucking search warrant and they got all your family at gunpoint and possibly shoot you and execute you and kill you in your own home when they came in without a search warrant, tell me about some short-term pain. You know, how it's going to get better for you. That's what I want to know. You know, because I'm just like totally against all this shit. It's fucking wrong, and I'm on the side of right now. So at least I'm on the side of right. So welcome me in, don't welcome me in, criticize me, it doesn't matter. I'm where I'm at. I'm on the side of right. So anyway, I just wanted to talk a little bit about that, put that out there. So that's kind of where we're at today. It's kind of what was on my mind, so I figured we'd talk about it. So anyway, I think I'd hit on it just a little bit in one of my other videos, or maybe a lot, because sometimes when I get going and I get on a little rant, I go. So I don't know. But I don't really edit too much. I just post whatever's on my mind. So what you get is what you get, you know. You get me some days on my manning days, and some days you get me on my mellow days. It just depends. So you'd have to watch it, like and subscribe, and see my next video. So I don't know. But anyway, I'd ask you to do that and support me and help me grow this channel a little bit. You know, like I said, it's not really about money, but I just like to get people's opinions, and, you know, and this will actually help me stay on the side of right, because if I'm wrong about something, people are going to come out, criticize it, comment, then I'm going to have to go look and do some research. Go, is that guy right or wrong? Well, let me go see what I can find. So, you know, if everybody did that, we wouldn't be in this situation today. And I'm guilty, you know, and I admit it. I admit it. I ask for my forgiveness, you know, for my part in this deal, if I ever promoted it at all. So anyway, that's where we're at. So anyway, y'all have a good afternoon. God bless, and see y'all next time.